And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. On today's program, we're going to start backwards. You know, the old saying is that life is short, eat dessert first. Well, we're going to make dessert first because we need to get this in the oven. So for today's program, we are going to start with a peach cobbler, and then we're going to move on to the main course, which is going to be probably my favorite thing to eat, which is a balsamic and bacon gravy over a pork loin or a tenderloin or pork chops, whatever you want to use, with a spinach salad with that wonderful balsamic and bacon drizzled over it. I absolutely love it. So we're going to get to that in just a few minutes, but we do need to get our peach cobbler in the oven. So preheat your oven to 375. You could go 400, but anywhere in there, 375 to 400. I have 2 cans of sliced peaches that I have drained, pretty much drained. One of them I kind of left a little bit in there. You could use frozen peaches if you wanted to. You most certainly could use fresh if you had fresh peaches, if it was summer and it was peach season. But right now we're just going to use 2 cans of drained peaches. I have 1 can of peach pie filling because I wanted to add that thick glaze to it. So we're just going to stir that in, and that's a peach pie filling. You know how you can find apple pie or cherry pie filling usually over there where they sell the flour and things like that. Just kind of stir that in, and it looks good just like that. It just looks yummy. I'm going to add to this, a little spoon, about a teaspoon of cinnamon, just to kind of flavor the peaches up just a little bit. And I'm going to stir that in. I love cobblers. I love crisps. I love like an apple crisp with the oatmeal and butter and flour crisp topping. And you could do that with this. You could make a crisp with it if you wanted to, this very same base, and then just add your oatmeal and butter and that topping to this. We'll make that another day. But today we're going to make a cobbler. Now on here, remember, we've got our peaches. Now in this bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups of the baking mixes that you can buy. And we all know the brands that are out there, and I've got 2 1/4 cups of the baking mix. And then I'm going to add to that, because it's a sweet dessert, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar to that. And I'm going to add, again, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon, about 2 teaspoons or so of cinnamon, depending on your taste. If you don't like quite so much, I love cinnamon, so I'm going to add quite a bit. Kind of stir that together, and we're going to make kind of a dumpling type coating, or topping. We're just going to put spoons full of this over our peaches. Just kind of stir that together. Baking mix is sometimes a little bit lumpy. That's okay. You want to use about 2/3 of a cup. Now I've got more in my container, because you just never know. It depends on the humidity in your kitchen, how much you're going to need or how little you're going to need, but probably about 2/3 of a cup. Just add a little bit, stir it together. You don't want it runny. You want it to be a little bit of a thicker consistency, and I think that's going to be just about perfect right there. And I added right at about 2/3 of a cup. As you can see, my batter is a little bit on the stiff side, which is what you want for dumplings. And then we're just going to take 2 spoons, and we're just going to pick up a spoon, and we're going to drop a spoonful over the peaches. And just dot your casserole dish. You make sure you've got an oven-proof dish, and just dot your dumplings all over it in big spoons full. I love cobblers with vanilla ice cream on them, and just, you can do any kind of fruit that you want. You most certainly could substitute apples for this. You really could even substitute pineapple if you wanted, or cherries would be yummy. If you like cherries, that would be good. You can get, cherries in the can. You could use fresh. They make delicious cherry pie fillings that you could use in this recipe. So you just kind of want to dot your dumplings. You don't want to cover all your peaches. Just kind of spread your dumplings out there. You want to let the peaches peek through the topping, and when it bakes, it's going to be yummy and golden and delicious. Preheat your oven, like I said, to about 375, 400 degrees, somewhere in there, and just enjoy this wonderful dessert. You do want to start with this because this will need to bake a while. It needs to bake, I would say, a good 30 to 40 minutes. So we're going to get this in the oven, and when I come back, we're going to start on what is probably my favorite meal, which is a pork loin with a balsamic and bacon dressing over it. I'll be right back. Hi everybody, I am Lisa Smith, and I wanted to let you know that we do have a cookbook available for you. It is called A Taste of Heaven. It is a collection of over 800 of your recipes, and a couple of mine are in there too. And it is such a wonderful cookbook, and you need to have your copy today. It is available for your gift of $35 or more to Living Faith Ministries, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212. Make sure that you note on your check or money order that you do want a copy of the cookbook. There are some wonderful recipes in here. We've got one in here from Mary Lou Livingston for meatball stew. We have some homemade salad dressing recipes. We've got a pea salad from Ruth Hensley. We've got scalloped potatoes. We have salmon cakes from Birchie Ward. We have got roast beef and gravy from Barbara in Bluntville. We've got so many different recipes in here. Get your copy today. Write to Living Faith Television. Hey, and welcome back. Now we're going to start on the main course of this menu. In the oven, remember, we've already got that wonderful peach cobbler baking away. And I did want to mention to you, if you, like my pan was pretty full, you might want to put that in a baking sheet so that if it spills over, it won't get your oven all dirty. I've got a large skillet preheating on my stove. I've got it on medium to medium-high heat because I want it to be hot. I have 2 pork tenderloins here. You could use a regular pork loin that you can get in the grocery stores. You could use the pork tenderloin like I'm using today. You could use pork chops if you wanted to use a pork chop or a the thin boneless cut. I wouldn't get them too thin because then they tend to dry out, but the boneless pork chops, or you could use a bone-in. It really doesn't matter with this recipe. You want to use something that will be tender though. But for today, I am using 2 pork tenderloins. You could, if you wanted to, just sear these in your pan and put them in the oven to roast. Or you could do what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to cut these into individual little pork chops, little medallions. And we're going to do that with our pork loin. I don't particularly like dry pork, so the tenderloin cooks quickly, and it's just wonderful, and it's a healthy alternative to beef. You want to trim if you see any, a little bit of extra. Sometimes on your pork loin, right here's a prime example. If you can see this little thing right here, that is called the silver skin on a pork tenderloin, and you want to trim that away. Typically, it will be trimmed for you, but occasionally you will come across a piece of it, and it's very tough, and it's you can't eat it. It's inedible. But you want to make your pork chops about 1.5 inches or so thick, and it just makes the perfect little serving size for your friends and your family. And pork, used to, people were kind of a little bit leery of eating pork, but the trichinosis that everybody was so afraid of has pretty much all been bred out of the pork today. Now, this little tail end of the tenderloin is a little bit on the thin side. So I'm probably just going to save him for another purpose. If I cook him, I want to make sure I pull him out a little quicker because he's thinner and he will dry out. And I don't like dried out. Now this particular one does have that silver skin on there. It's a real thick membrane, and you want to trim that off. You don't want to eat that. Now there's a difference in that and a little bit of marbling of the fat. The fat just adds tenderness and juiciness, but that silver skin is tough, and you want to make sure that you get all of that trimmed off of your tenderloin. Pork is such a versatile meat. It is, you know, and I didn't know until just recently that pork is the #1 consumed meat in the world. And it surpasses beef, it surpasses chicken. It is the #1 eaten meat in the world, and I did not know that. My skillet is preheating. And like I said, the end of that one is just a little thin also. So we have to watch those and make sure that we pull them out. You could save them, put them in your freezer and save them and use them for a stir fry or something like that if you wanted to. We'll go ahead and cook them and just make sure that we watch them. In your preheated pan, you want to add some olive oil. You want to kind of go liberally with this. Remember, pork is very lean, and it tends to not have a whole lot of fat in there. So you want to add a little bit of the heart-healthy olive oil. We want to salt and pepper. If you'll salt the one side and then cook that side first, then you can season the other side. Want to salt and pepper our pork loin, tenderloin that we've chopped. Use your tongs. Now I have a splatter guard here because sometimes the meat will cause a little bit of a splatter, but I think we're going to be okay today. And you just want to brown up the one side. When you put your meat in your pan, it is very important that you don't move it. Get it where you want it to go. The protein in the meat will cling to the skillet, and if you try to move it too quickly, not only will you tear the meat, you will lose that wonderful brown caramelization, which is what you want. And so place it where you want it and then leave it alone. The reason a lot of people don't get that beautiful caramelization on there is that they try to move their meat too quickly. So place it where you want it and then let it go. It smells good already. And we just want to let that brown. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Season up the other side while you have it with a little bit of salt and freshly ground pepper. Smells so good. I smell that cobbler and it just, I'm getting very, very hungry. Now, I'm going to use this same board because it's a meat board, and I'm going to be cutting up some bacon for our sauce. We want to go ahead and get our the sauce, the glaze that's going to go over this and our spinach. We want to go ahead and get that going. I'm going to take this skillet and I'm going to preheat it while I chop my bacon to like a medium heat. You could, if you wanted to, you could not chop your bacon. But I find it's easier to go ahead while it's, while you've got it here to chop it up than it is to, do it in strips and then crumble it all together. So I go ahead and I'm just using a 12-ounce package of bacon, and I'm just going to go ahead and slice through it. I love bacon. I just love bacon. Anything cooked with bacon is going to be good. And this is a sauce that is delicious over the pork. And then I use raw spinach. And if you're sitting there saying I don't like spinach, you're wrong. If you'll try raw spinach with this, the hot glazed sauce, dressing, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to put over the spinach is so incredibly good. And spinach is just a powerhouse of vitamins and minerals, and it's such a good thing for you to eat. When you get your bacon chopped, just put it and kind of separate it out and put it down into a skillet. And we're just going to let the bacon brown up, and the pork is looking good. and it's smelling good. I guess you could, if you wanted to, you could use beef in this recipe. I've never tried that, but I bet that would be very good. You could use a beef steak of some sort, whatever kind you like, and make this same dressing on it. Sometimes I will make this bacon balsamic vinaigrette and just have it as a salad, because the bacon adds the protein, and I love raw spinach, so sometimes I'll just make this without the pork and just use it as a salad dressing over some spinach. And sometimes I will take that and I will add an apple. If you've never tried that, it is so good. Spinach with like a Granny Smith or a Macintosh apple, slice it really thin, and then make this very same dressing. Absolutely delicious with lots of black pepper on there. Let's check our pork and see where we are. Nope, it's still sticking. Nope, there we go. And if you'll see, that's what you want. You want that brown caramelization. So we're going to turn our little pork medallions. And we've got our bacon going. And we're going to finish up our sauce. And we're going to eat in just a minute. Oh, smells so incredibly good. You know, pork is lean. If you get the pork tenderloins, maybe you're watching your diet, maybe maybe your cholesterol, and you need to watch how much fat you take in. Pork tenderloin is just about equal in fat and calories as a lean, chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast. And so you could use, these little pork medallions. They're perfect. You can portion them out as you cut them. They're the perfect size, for just one person. And as you can see, they look absolutely delicious. We've got our bacon cooking. We're going to go to a break real quick. When I come back, we're going to finish up this sauce, and the best part, we're going to eat. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Hey, and welcome back. And we have got our pork loin, tenderloins that I've cut into individual little pieces. They're browning away. We've got our bacon, and it is cooked. So you want to remove the bacon out of here. Remember, it's just crisp and brown and so good, and I can just eat it at this point. Now, if I was home, Austin would be coming to me and Aaron would be coming to me saying, "Mommy, I smell bacon." And they would be wanting to eat all of this. So you have to pull it out, because you don't want the bacon to, you don't want it to burn. We're going to add it back in kind of at the end. I think I'll do better with my tongs. Let me get that last little bit out. Now, here's where I'm going to leave you with your own judgment. I love the flavor of bacon drippings, and I'm going to leave all of those bacon drippings in there because I'm feeding a lot of people. If it's just maybe you and one or two people, you might want to pour off some of your drippings. You want to leave about a half a cup or so. I know that part is not exactly heart healthy, but it's so good. And you're not going to eat this all the time, so we'll splurge today. To the drippings, let's turn our stove down just a little bit because we don't want to burn. We want to add 3 cloves of garlic to your bacon drippings. And I love garlic. I just love it. It doesn't really, they say garlic cancels out garlic, so whoever you're feeding will smell like garlic too, so therefore you're all right. I love garlic, and it's so healthy, and it just cleanses your blood, and it's really, truly one of the healthiest things. And please, if maybe you don't like to use fresh garlic, or maybe you never have, this is one of those recipes. I'm going to pull that off for just a minute. I don't want to burn it. This is one of those recipes where you really do want to use fresh garlic. Now, you could use the pre-chopped garlic that you can get over there where you buy your fruits and vegetables. You can get the kind that's already chopped if you want to. But I would not substitute garlic powder or anything like that. There really is no substitution for the garlic here. You need to add it. It just adds so much flavor, and garlic, when it cooks, sweetens up. It just gets mellow and sweet, and yummy, and I just love it. And so I pulled my skillet off of the heat because I'm going to add my garlic, and I don't want it to burn, and my oil is hot. So add your garlic immediately. Add in some olive oil. You want to kind of cut that fat of the bacon dripping. So you want to add, again, I'm feeding a lot of people, so I'm going to add about half of a cup of good olive oil, extra virgin. Let that come to a simmer. The bacon is salty. I'm just going to add just a pinch of salt and lots of freshly cracked pepper. And I'm just going to kind of stir that around a little bit. Now I'm going to add balsamic vinegar. Now, you can get really, really good balsamic vinegars in the grocery store. The one that I like is aged for 4 years, and it's just yummy. It's just, you know, they age it from barrel to barrel. They start out and they end up, I think, in mulberry barrels in Italy. It's absolutely delicious. Be careful anytime you add vinegar to hot oil because it will immediately start to foam up and start to bubble. But I'm going to add about half of a cup or so. As you can see, what the vinegar does is just, you know, it just starts, it just creates a commotion there. And to that, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of dried rosemary. And it smells so incredibly good. It's just one of my favorite little glazes. Now you could at this point, if you didn't have the pork and you wanted to just have a salad, you could just have a salad with this over it. Turn it down as low as your stove will go and let it rest. I'm going to pull it off there till it cools down just a little because I don't want it to burn. I don't want my, you know, the garlic. Garlic gets very bitter if it burns. So we'll pull that off till my eye heats down. Let's check on our pork. Let's flip it over one more time. You see that beautiful goldeny brown color on our pork? Oh, it just smells so incredibly good. I love it. I just love the way it smells. I like pork, period. I love bacon, I love pork, I love it all. I like to try new things. Do you like to try new recipes and try new things? Now that is just about done. Pork tenderloin cooks very, very quickly. Let's chop up a little tiny bit of fresh parsley. We're going to just kind of sprinkle that over the top. We need to check on our cobbler because I think it's probably done. Oh, be careful, be careful, be careful, because it's very, very hot. But oh, it smells. Let me make room on my board. Smells so incredibly good. Yum. If they'll get you a shot of that, you can see what that cobbler looks like. It just smells absolutely divine. That cinnamon has made just this beautiful little crust on there. It's time to eat, and I'm so happy. So you want to add your bacon back into your sauce. Don't forget to add that delicious bacon back in there. Put that back on the stove. Now on my plate, I have just a little bit of raw baby spinach, and you got to try the spinach. It is so good, and I'm going to just take one of these little beautiful, let's get one that's really brown. Oh, so good. One of these little pork tenderloins. Put that on my plate, and I'm going to get me some sauce, and we're going to taste this. If I can find a spoon, that is. There we go. There's my ladle. That's what I want. And we're just going to add a little bit of this over this spinach. And I need to tilt up my plate just a little bit here so I can get some of the juices from here. And we're just going to Oh, doesn't that look absolutely yummy? Sprinkle just a tiny bit of parsley over your pork. And there's our pork with our spinach. Now, let's get to the dessert. Let's get a spoonful of this scrumptious cobbler. And there you go. A scoop of ice cream over top of that. And that, my friends, is probably my favorite meal. Pork loin with a balsamic glaze on it with a cobbler or a crisp. This time it's peach cobbler. Enjoy. I'm glad you joined with me today, and I can't wait to eat. I'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.
If you enjoyed this episode of Everyday Manna and would like a copy of today's recipes, please write Living Faith Television, CO Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia, 24212, or visit our website at www.livingfaithtv.com. Please be sure to include the program number found on the bottom of the screen in your letter so we will know which recipes you would like. Thanks for watching, and join us again for the next episode of Everyday Manna.